Hi, this is John Morgan with the latest video tip for 2020 design.
I want to share with you four of my favorite lighting tools. The first one is going to be the individual lighting control. If I zoom in on this particular light, this is actually a light that I have manually placed in the room. If I right click on the light and choose light properties, I actually have four different things that I can change about this light. I can change how bright it is by clicking on the arrow, everything from off to 120 watts. I can control the angle at which the light will shine by clicking on the cone angle. I can control the color of the light, and my favorite is I can control the profile of the light. Simply by clicking on the arrow, I can choose how the light is dispersed in the room, whether it's a bollard dispersion or I want something that's a more tightly focused dispersion. You can see the differences in the profile. So for each and every light that I manually place in the room, all that I need to do is right click on the light and go to its light properties to change it. Now, a second of my favorite lighting controls is going to be found in the rendering itself. Whenever you open a rendering, there's a light bulb at the bottom of the screen. If I left click on lighting effects, you'll see right here that it says sun. I absolutely love to use the sun in my renderings because I think that it adds depth and character to the overall room. When you move the sun around and show shadowing, it makes the room look much more like real life to your client. If you click on sun and place a check mark next to visible, you can move your cursor down to the sunburst on the screen, hold the left button down on your mouse, and simply move the sun around the outside of the room. Now, one of the tricks that I like to use is I like to find objects. Like in my room right now, you'll notice that there's a plant on the left-hand side. You also see that I have louvered shades on the window at the top. If I move the sun so that it provides sunlight through the shade and through the plant, it creates realistic and subtle shadowing around the room. Look at the upper right-hand corner of my drawing and you can see the louvered shades in this area, even longer shade along the side of the cabinet. Down here on the floor, on my bamboo floor, you can see how the sunlight actually comes through each individual leaf on our plant. All of these items combine together to make a very realistic and engaging view to our client. A third lighting control that I like to use can also be found under the light bulb. That's the feature called ceiling. Sometimes when you're working, you'll notice that a corner is a little bit too dark in a rendering, and you want to add just a little bit of a splash of light. You don't want to go back and get a brand new light. You want to just do something quickly so you can finish with the perspective and move on to the next item. Now, for quick lighting purposes, I love to use ceiling light. If I go to light intensity, click on the arrow, you'll notice that I can change how bright this light is. Now, this is going to be one single light that I'm going to move around the room to sort of spotlight areas for my client. So that it really shows up well for you right now, I'm going to choose 100 watts. But typically, I'm going to leave this light at 40 or 60 watts because I want it to be much more subtle in my rendering. If I left click on the light, I can now take the little yellow circle in this mini floor plan and move it and watch the shadowing in my room change. You notice that certain areas become brighter and the shadows change as you go around the room. So I can adjust the light, place it in this corner, and now that corner is much brighter when it re-renders. You'll see this corner is much brighter. Now, if I were to change my view perspective and maybe look at the other wall, anytime I want, I can go back down to my light, I can click on ceiling light and I can move the spotlight to the other side of the room if I want to. So it's a real easy way to make quick adjustments while you're in your perspective. Now, my fourth item when it comes to my favorites for lighting controls is scene. When I go to scene, I like to adjust the overall lighting of the room very quickly. Sometimes when I'm creating an image, let's say it's a white kitchen, the room may look a little bit too bright. I want to lower the intensity of the light. See where it reads ambient lighting? If I hold my cursor down on the tab and move to the left, it'll make the overall ambient lighting. That's the light that comes through your windows and doors and just the existing light in the room. It'll make it a little bit darker. If I had a dark cherry kitchen and I wanted to make the room brighter, I would have moved it further to the right. It makes the entire room brighter or darker depending on where I am on that scale. Now the item right below it, which is also part of scene, is called user light intensity. This actually takes the lights, just like the light I showed you in the very beginning, the one where I changed the light profile to be tight focused. It takes all of the lights that I place and makes them slightly brighter and slightly darker. Again, when you're doing your rendering, you might want to make slight adjustments, even if you've gone through and individually changed the lights. If I take the tab right here in the control and move to the left, it would take all of the lights that I've added to the room and make them darker. And if I move to the right, it would take all of those lights and make them brighter.
For other great ideas, please join the 2020 community at www.2020spaces.com/community.